So you probably know Cooper Mays is an all SEC center. You probably even know that he's a great student and a leader and sometimes chases gorillas around in Rwanda. But he is also a newsbreaker. You told me first, and you actually told the media that Darnell Wright would be a top 15 pick. And I told everybody last football season, I said the most special physical specimen on that football team might be and probably is Darnell Wright. He goes 10 in the draft. You nailed it, Coop.
Yeah, I was spot on. I definitely I saw it coming. He's a special talent, and they don't make many like him. So
Yeah.
anytime you can put all that stuff together, it's going to turn out well for you.
Yeah, you broke big news. Maybe we should host a radio show together one day when your football days are over. What do you think about that?
I'm down. I need to get into it for sure. I feel like I have a good personality for stuff like this.
I agree. I agree. We'll do it all digital because terrestrial is dying, but
Yes.
we'll make it happen. But first, you need to have like a 12-year run in the NFL and make the Hall of Fame. Let's do that part first.
Well, if I do 12 years and in the Hall of Fame, I probably won't be doing any radio.
That's
Like,
fair. If I make it,
probably nobody will hear from me ever again. Right?
if I make it to 12 years, I'll be happy, Coop. But Darnell Wright, I'm sure you've spoken to him. Were you perhaps with him when he was drafted? If you can just kind of talk about your interaction with him after he went number 10 to the Bears.
Yeah, so he had a a party, kind of draft party together at the Hyatt rooftop bar or something like that. So I don't know exactly what it's called, but it was a really good time. All of his friends and family were around. Um, just a really special night. I have friends that we had to go work out this morning after last night, so we had to go work out, and kind of all the people that were there were kind of just talking after the workout about how special it was, and it's just like once in a lifetime. And one of my friends was like, "Man, I'll tell my kids about that," and I was just like, it just puts it into perspective how rare something like that is, and how you need to not take it for granted and enjoy it.
Take me to that moment. Did he get the phone call that we all see on TV right before the pick? Did it play out like it typically does?
Yeah, definitely. It was exactly like that.
So what was his reaction?
He just his immediate reaction was, he just kind of like, there was like, I think there was a period between, like, it's different on TV. There's a period between when you get picked and then the camera goes on to you and you get the phone call and stuff. So like he knew, and kind of at first he was just sitting there, just like, it looked like he was just, I don't know what it was. I couldn't ask him obviously because I wasn't beside him or up there, but it just looks like he was just like he was just taking it all in, and I mean, I don't know how I would react, but I think pretty similar. I mean, getting picked 10th overall. I mean, that's a lot to take in for anybody. I mean, that's life-changing stuff, and they don't make many 10th overalls. There's only been so many in the draft.
No, absolutely. And so I was following some of the draft leading up to it, and the goal for a lot of these analysts is to nitpick everybody, every single player, find the flaws in them. Bryce Young goes number one, and he's way too little, and that's the goal. But there was this talk about from one analyst that I thought was just really off base about how maybe not cooperative or something like that. What did you see any of that? What did you make of that? It's kind of silly in retrospect.
Yeah, I didn't see that exact one, but all I can say is, look at who showed up to his draft party, and go ask the people that were around him every day and ask if he was not cooperative. What did you say?
That was one term that was used.
Well, go talk to the people that he was cooperating with, and we'll see.
So, what's he like to cooperate with and play with, and know that you have that type of physical force on the offensive line? What are the Bears getting? I guess I should ask.
I mean, in my opinion, I think the Bears are getting a starting tackle for the next foreseeable future. I think he's a guy that can come in and play immediately and have a lot of success. There's very few people, I mean, in the whole draft class, really few people that I've ever seen that can kind of translate power like he can. I mean, if you watch the Bama film, which a lot of people have, and that's all over Twitter and stuff, but I mean, to be able to sit down and stop Will Anderson's bull rush consistently, I mean, that's not something that anybody really has been able to do. And if you go back years previous where Darnell played against them even 2 years ago, I think he's the only person that's held Will Anderson to 0 sacks. And or sorry, there was only like maybe 2 games where Will Anderson had been held to like 0 sacks, 0 tackles for loss. And if you track both of who he played in those games, it was Darnell in 2022 and then Darnell in 2020 back during the year. So, I mean, there's very few people that can do what he's done in college on a consistent basis. So, I think he's a guy that can come in and play immediately and have a really good, really great career.
So when Will Anderson goes earlier in the draft, what do you guys say to each other?
Man, I don't really say anything because it's all based on needs and there's so much different stuff that they look at. And I'm just a player. Who am I to sit here and critique? But I know one thing that I believe that Darnell is, you know, it's hard to argue that a top 5 player in the draft. Really, I think we'll come back, and I think he'll have a really good career. And I think it'll be showed that he was deserving of where he was picked, and maybe even higher.
You and I have talked about you used to be a big recruiting fan when you were getting recruited and used to follow it closely. And I'm curious how it affects prospects and their view of Tennessee having a guy go that high. I want to get to that. The Ball Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. 50 years in Knoxville. Integrity matters. But if I'm a prospect and I see a guy go in the top 10, that's an offensive lineman as well. I mean, that's not what this offense, air quotes, is known for. It's known for high flying, throwing the ball downfield. But when I see an offensive lineman go there, if I'm an offensive line prospect, that means a lot to me, man.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think for me, when I was getting recruited, I think it would have been big to me. I think it's a testament to Coach Ellerby and a testament to kind of our the level of talent that we have at UT right now. So if I'm a player, I want to come be a part of it. Try to follow in those footsteps. But then again, I can't speak for the new age recruit, man. It was a whole different world when I was getting recruited. So who knows?
Yeah, it was. There was no NIL, and the transfer portal wasn't even a thing. So things have certainly changed dramatically. And I'm curious on the transfer portal because you did have a player who decided to go to Colorado. Is that something as a team that you guys talk about that hey, I may look at other schools? Because I think sometimes people think that you should just be loyal to a school where you're people too, and you have to make business decisions. Do you guys discuss that openly?
I think people discuss it pretty decently open. But I think it's more. I think people in our shoes, we look at it like we want our friends, like we look at it as more than football. So I mean, and even if we do look at it as football, we want everybody on the team to succeed. Like at the end of the day, we're all friends and human at the end of the day. So I mean, if you aren't succeeding here and not where you want to be here, who am I to say that you shouldn't go somewhere and go where you feel like you fit in more? I mean, who am I to say that? Because my brother transferred back here. I mean, what am I going to say to anybody? So it doesn't really it doesn't make much sense to me for people that critique it. But I can see where fans would probably not like it. But for me as a player, I care more about them as people than UT football players.
Were you surprised that Amari McNiel decided to go? Did you know that was coming?
I had no clue, but I love it. I love Amari. We call him Amari because Big O, but I love Amari. He's a really good kid. I had a really good time being around him. He's a really good friend to me. So I hope he's super successful.
Gotcha. I want to ask you this as well, because Alabama brought in a transfer quarterback, and I don't expect you to know him or know the current quarterbacks they have on their roster, but just the ability to adapt to a new quarterback with only a summer, as opposed to Joe Milton, you've known him for years. To make that transition, how challenging do you think that can be, getting a quarterback ready for fall when you just have a few months?
It could be hard, especially from summer. I think I was gonna say like I guess we did with Hendo, but I think Hendo came in the spring, so we had him a whole extra kind of cycle through I guess through college football in that sense. But it's tough. I mean, there's definitely not a lot of time to get ready, and you know how hard it is. I mean, when you first started doing journalism at your new spots or whatever, it probably took you a few months to get comfortable as well. I mean, you don't have much time. So if you're coming in the end of May, you got what, maybe two months to get ready. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's dicey.
That's a pretty quick turnaround. Whereas you guys have Joe Milton, and he's the first person I thought of when Anthony Richardson was drafted, because he's going to have more experience and he's going to put up a lot of the same measurables that Richardson did when he was drafted from Florida. Uh, what are your thoughts on Milton and the potential that he has in the NFL? I know this season's first, but
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think just about everything he tested in and everything Anthony does that wows people. The stuff that Anthony does that wows people. I think Joe's right on par. I mean, I don't know exactly his numbers, but I'd say he's right on par, if not a little bit better in some aspects. So it's a really good opportunity for Joe, and shows that the sky's the limit. Because I mean, Anthony played 1 year, right? Started 1 year. I mean, started 1 year and got drafted that high. I mean, that'd be nice for me to look at if I were Joe.
yeah, absolutely. Does it make you think too about here you are just 12 months away from being a pro player? Because I mean, you're going to get drafted. You're going to be on draft night. You'll be having that party. Hopefully, I'll get an invite. But you're, I mean, does it make you think about your future to be around Darnell and that environment last night?
I mean, it definitely makes you think about your future. But I don't really. It is crazy put in perspective that in 12 months that could be me. So I don't really know. I didn't think about it like that, but I don't know. I can't see the forest for the trees.
Well, that's a good thing. You are where your feet are, which I stole from Cooper nearly a year ago. I love that saying. So you are preparing for the 2023 season. So that's the right mindset of one day at a time. And then um, you shared a story with me about your dad that I didn't know. Your dad, Kevin, played for Tennessee, was a standout offensive lineman, was going through the draft process, and actually got a call from the Cowboys that he would have been a first round pick. What's before his injury? What can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So you kind of went over it a little bit. He was in based off what he had been told and what they had talked about. He was kind of pretty sure he was going to get picked in the first round by the Cowboys, and you know got hurt, I think, a month before the draft or a month around there. So he'd already done his combine and his senior bowl and everything. And it was kind of set in stone that where he was going to end up at that point. Ended up got in a really just a freak injury on the turf in the indoor at UT, working out. And then, from that point on, his career was over. Kind of had to take a new direction in life.
Yeah, and it was pretty significant too. What when he tells you that and you know that story, what life lesson does that teach the Mays guys, the Mays boys? You've got a couple brothers. I mean, about football, about direction and in life. What lesson do you take from that?
For me, it was just that nothing's promised. They always talk. Everybody talks about like your last play. You never know what it is and all that. And I guess his wasn't a play or whatever, but you never know when your last whatever will be. So I guess that's the main thing. You gotta take every day for what it is and live life the right way, because you never really know what's going to be taken from you at any point. So I think he did that. I don't think he's always told us that he doesn't have regrets about football because he played so hard and everything that he didn't leave anything in the tank. So that's one thing. But you gotta play every down like it's your last, because it truly anytime could be the end.
So I've always said that you have a good chip on your shoulder, a good chip on your shoulder, and it's on your Twitter account that you're supposedly undersized and all that. Is that any motivation you think for you and your brother Cade to go out there and just kind of live up to what Kevin had done in terms of the Mays name that went unfulfilled?
Maybe when we were younger, I guess to a certain degree, you feel like you have to be good because like your name is whatever and your dad played wherever. I guess there's certain stuff that you want to live up to when you're young. You want to be good as your dad. So I guess that's one thing. But I think we've kind of gotten to the point now where we're our own men, and I think we've kind of been at that point for a while. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely. I mean, nobody's trying to go out there and not do good. That's for sure.
This is true. We don't go out there.
There's different motivations for it, but I know one thing, I don't want to get my butt kicked. So
right, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "My goal is to fail today."
yeah, no, especially not in front of 100,000 people. That's not my gig.
True. I love the tweet from Hendon Hooker that he's healthy. Wherever he goes, doesn't matter. How cool was that to see him dropping back, throwing balls? That was pretty neat.
Yeah, I was watching. We were inside the weight room. We were watching him. So it was just every time Hennen comes around, everybody's happy about it. Everybody loves to see him because he just the way he's handled himself as a person and as a man. Everybody's excited to see him. So just seeing him do well, honestly, seeing all of our teammates that have gone through and are onto the draft and everything, seeing any of them succeed is good for all of us.
I was talking to Jacob, and the year he came to Tennessee, Tennessee had two third-round picks and a sixth-round pick. So this year, it's going to be way different. You have like 5 guys drafted, and you've already got top 10 and Darnell.
Yeah.
What does that say about the program?
I think it says that we're moving in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even if you look at we talked about the amount of scouts and GMs and head coaches and such coming out for the pro day. I mean, it's just that's the only way you can take it is that the program's improving and we're moving in the right direction. I think getting back to the place where we need to be.
Great stuff as always. Cooper Mays, he is not only an all SEC center, he's not only great in academics, but hey man, he's a future journalist if he wants to be. I got a feeling he's going to be in the Hall of Fame and we're going to lose him. But I'll root for that. I'll root for the Hall of Fame. How about that?
Man, no, we all.
He's Cooper Mays. The Vol Report brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning, cityheatandair.com. Integrity matters. 50 years in Knoxville, cityheatandair.com. For Cooper Mays, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation of Off the Hook Sports.